Hello!
Hello, everybody. This is going to be another video that's kind of a series now, even though it's about a different series.
Yeah. On the topic of podcasts, we want to make an actual podcast.
Yes.
But right now, this is all you guys get.
Exactly. Like, we're thinking of making maybe a generally video game themed-ish podcast, but we don't have a good name yet, so...
So as of now, we're just making these videos discussing our theories and thoughts on the shows we're watching.
Exactly.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link them in the description. We did some videos on the Steven Universe Future finale. Before the last 4 episodes were released, we posted our theories, which is kind of what we're about to do, about Infinity Train. And after the 4 episodes were released, we did our post-finale discussion. So, by the way, I'm just gonna say this right now, huge spoiler warning for,
yes.
Infinity Train Book 3. As well, I don't know if the first 2 books will come up, so potential spoiler warning for those as well, for the first 5 episodes of Book 3.
Yep, if you're not all caught up
on Infinity Train, then either click off or don't get mad at us when you get spoiled.
Because you've been warned. We've done our due diligence at this point.
You have been warned. So, yes.
Yeah, and just like last time, we will also do a follow-up to this after we watch whatever comes next to see, to both reflect on the actual experience of watching it, as well as saying, hey, how did we do guessing, and also did they resolve things we were wondering about?
For the Steven Universe one, I feel like we got quite a lot of stuff down.
We did.
We were like, Homeworld bound is going to be him going to Homeworld.
Hey,
I was right.
Got it.
So, yes. So, there are 3 main things we wish to discuss, and we'll have kind of a discussion revolving around those. One of them is Amelia. She was a character introduced at the end of Season 1, and we never really got any follow-up, but...
Which is weird, because really, like, if you just sort of, obviously not as far as, like, the personal arc of the season went, but if you just look at, like, the events going on, she was kind of the most important figure in the show, actually. Like, the whole situation that was going amok with the train and driving the conflict was Amelia taking it over.
Yeah.
So,
and we never got follow-up. But the Apex is literally a cult revolving around her, so we're thinking that she should come up.
She's just
Another thing we want to discuss is the fact that Hazel, the little girl introduced this season, turned into a turtle, which also kind of relates to Amelia. We'll get to that. And we also want to discuss Tuba.
Precious Tuba.
And then in general, like, the future of the season, the book 3.
Yes, indeed. So, I figure we can dive right in. Did you want to share your thoughts first, or should I?
On what specifically?
We'll start with Amelia, but obviously if in the course of discussing Amelia, you have to mention things, especially regarding Hazel, who seems to be definitely have some sort of connection.
Yes.
By all means.
So I've seen lots of people say that they want Amelia to shut down a cult, and that's how she would get her number down. That's one of the main things I've seen is, like, maybe shutting down this evil cult that's causing problems would definitely help her get her number down, especially considering that the cult revolves around her. So that's the main thing lots of people have been speculating. They're like, if Amelia shows up and she shuts down this cult, that will get her number down, she'll get her exit. So that is the main theory I've seen on Amelia. I definitely would be interested to see how she would interact with the new characters that have been introduced. How she would react to finding out that there is a cult revolving around her. That would be...
Very much so.
Interesting.
Yes. I think that's... Like, I feel like, it would be absolutely shocking to me if they do not encounter Amelia.
Yeah.
Like, because she feels like a big unresolved element anyway.
Yeah.
It was actually almost kind of surprising that she didn't come up in book 2 at all.
Yeah. And, like, barely at all. I mean...
Yeah, they got referenced, of course,
she was referenced, but that was pretty much it.
And so, so with there being, an entire cult based around worshipping a misunderstanding of who she was and what the situation was, it would be, again, very surprising if they did not encounter her. And as far as how that would go, I mean, that's a fascinating thing because it's very rare that a religion gets to actually meet their god,
Yeah.
you know? And also, something too that has occurred to me is wondering, even if they met Amelia, would they recognize Amelia? Would Amelia want them to know who she actually was?
I have no clue.
Yeah, like how...
because that's a thing, because they also clearly don't really know much about her. First off, because they're like, Wang Wang is a fake conductor, so they clearly don't understand the situation. Also, they also don't seem to realize that Amelia is a lady, which really just says a lot about...
Exactly.
How little they know about the situation.
Yeah, like, so, since she doesn't have, like, the big, you know, weird red zigzag face suit that she had on before.
Because it got destroyed.
Exactly. Like, how, like, again, how would she even prove that she was the person that they're worshipping?
Yeah.
So it's a really complex thing. I could even see it being an awkward situation where they encounter each other and they don't even realize that there would be any connection. It could be fascinating. If they do realize there's a connection through Amelia telling them or just figuring it out or discovering it, however, that does lead to a lot of questions too. Like, that is interesting. Like, it certainly occurred to me that Amelia might redeem herself by, you know, shutting it down and everything. Shut it down. And here's the thing. If she does get introduced back in, I would like to think that she would do that. Because she did seem to end, first season, in a bit of a place of more acceptance and at least some sense of remorse. But also at the same time, we don't know that much about her, and B, she seems actually incredibly vindictive and awful, actually.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like, you know, trying to revive her dead fella through this weird infinity train, creating a dimension where he's still alive. Like, that's tragic, and I could see her doing reckless things in the service of that, but a lot of the stuff she did in the course of her conflict with Tulip was not just, like, you know, stuff done by a wayward soul. Like, some of it was outright mean and cruel. So, again, I'm hoping that she would be redeeming herself this time, but there is a part of me also does worry that maybe they'll act like, oh, she's going to redeem herself, but then when she has the moment, she will instead maybe take over the calls or decide, oh, maybe I can use them for something other thing that will benefit me.
Yeah.
I'm worried. That's all.
Like, even to some extent, I understand the whole 1-1 thing. She was like, 1-1 isn't doing the thing I want him to do. It does not remotely justify her actions, but even that I understand. But, like, killing Atticus or, like, transforming him into a creepy cockroach monster and, like, trying to kill Tulip, that's just, like, unnecessary.
Trying to literally murder a child.
Yeah. Also, the whole thing with the cat, like, it's so much bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, some of it is kind of justifiable, or at the very least understandable, but then other things, it's like, really? Atticus? Why? He's not a real conductor. Why kill him?
Yep. So, it's a thing, you know, again, I feel like intuitively, which is, like, the way stories work, and her seeming to, like, have at least ended the first season
on somewhat of a high note.
Sort of, like, you know, definitely not redeeming herself, but at least, like, calming the dang down. But again, the show is unpredictable, so I could see them, you know, just having her return to her old manipulative, obsessive ways and just sort of, you know, not doing the right thing when the time comes.
This
we'll have to see.
show has a habit of having very morally great characters.
It really
especially
does.
Lake, Jesus. Some of the things that Lake did. This is a whole other topic, and I don't want to really get into it because it's not what this video is about, but some of the things that Lake did, or MT if you guys are confused, some of the things that Lake did are bad.
Oh, yes.
So, another thing is the turtles. I never understood that, because, like, they made it a point that she has this obsession with turtles. Even Tulip was like, you can't even make a car without any turtles in it! But, like, why?
Yeah, like, I don't know whether it is going to be a situation where there is some actual weird backstory character reason for the turtles, or whether it's just, like, going to be, like, a weird, just, like, surreal, almost, like, you know, dark joke that just she always messes her projects up in some ways that they just happen to have turtles. Like, maybe it's just like a weird little specific joke without a deeper meaning. Either way, I find it really impressive how they took the idea of, like, all her stuff accidentally having turtles, which is, like, such a funny, silly idea.
So, like, random.
It is so
well.
And again, it's just like, so it's wacky, like, haha. But then turning that into such like a, oh, whoa,
oh
moment.
Boy.
But having Hazel turning into a turtle.
A little girl.
Yes, like with this like creepy werewolf-esque transformation.
Which would explain some things, like A, why she doesn't know much about her parents. If she was some failed experiment from Amelia, which is one of the theories I've seen a little bit from what I've seen going on in the fandom, which is, I try to stay out of fandoms because it's a mess, but this one seems more okay than most. What I've seen is lots of people think that she's like some sort of experiment or something, obviously, which would explain A, why her number is broken, and also why she doesn't know much about her origin or anything.
Yeah, like 100%, like, you know, again, I feel it's like basically impossible for it to not be that Amelia made her. I mean, like, with turning a turtle,
or
like,
some connection to Amelia,
exactly,
at least.
Because everything Amelia makes turns into turtles. Hazel turns into a turtle.
You can't
She's
make a
got
car without any turtles
you know?
in it. That was one of the funniest lines ever.
It was amazing.
It's a donut holder. Man, that episode had some
good
really
callbacks and landings and things.
lines.
Yes, so many Chekhov's guns going off. But yeah, like my specific guess as to what, you know, assuming, and I do certainly think that she's probably an experiment by Amelia. My actual legit guess specifically would be that she was Amelia's attempt to manufacture a passenger.
I hate that.
Yes, which is messed up.
Horrible, and I hate that.
But that is my guess, because I feel like that would answer pretty much all the mysteries to Hazel's, you know,
number, her backstory, why she turned into a turtle monster.
Exactly, and also why she had a number, but B, the number clearly wasn't working as intended. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my official guess. And also, too, if we were hoping that Amelia redeems herself, another part of that could even be realizing maybe that, like, you know, actually taking responsibility for Hazel, this literal child that she created after having tried to kill a different child, but never mind that. And, you know, like, and also, hey, if we want to keep running with that, maybe Amelia can go from, like, mourning over the loved one that she lost to realize that, like, she can, like, you know, do good things and maybe having, like, forming new attachments and finding new purpose through new, you know, people important to her, maybe starting with Hazel.
Yes. Now, this is again kind of branching off, but there's one thing that kind of bothered me, because when they refer to a denizen or a gnoll, which is a very mean way of phrasing it, but when they refer to a denizen, it seems to be like something that was made on the train or came from the train, but why do they refer to Lake as a denizen if she's just a reflection of Tulip? That doesn't make sense, because she wasn't presumably made on a train, she just exists.
Two guesses as far as that goes.
What?
Well, also, first of all, let's just get it clear that, you know, a big problem with Grace as a person is that she's way too hasty to jump to conclusions, so just figuring, hey, Lake is not a passenger, so clearly must be a null. So it could literally just be a misunderstanding, but if we are to run with the thought that maybe Lake is actually considered a denizen in a technical sense, there's two ways I can see that being. A, maybe it's just because the matter that she formed from is from the train, because even though she's, like, you know, Tulip's reflection...
It must exist off the train.
Yeah.
Like, existed off the train.
Yeah, but, like, the actual, like, physical form that she took was out of, like, the metal from that car, so it could just be because of that. Or, and this next one is way trippier, but it's a trippy show, is a sense that, okay, so as far as Lake's perspective goes, she has always been Tulip's reflection. She's experienced everything that Tulip has experienced when reflective, you know, surfaces are, like, you know, across them rather, all that stuff. However, it is also possible Two, that is all only became true as soon as Tulip stepped into that particular car. And it's just that car, that's how mirrors work. And because she stepped in that's suddenly like her reflection had gained a backstory as soon as she entered into that.
I hate that.
Yes.
On so many levels.
And then also the mirror police, all that stuff is like purely a gimmick from that car, but it just all spiraled out of control because Lake left the car and the weird police force that would only normally exist in her car comes after her. Again, it's a weird thing where like I feel like it's a situation where reflections are just reflections, but they also have this second meaning purely in the context of this one particular car.
I hate that on so many levels. Anyways.
Yeah. And again, not confident in that whatsoever, just food for thought.
I hate it. Anyways.
It's a trippy show.
Moving on to anything else. Tuba.
Tuba. It's something that you pointed out that I actually thought I do just want to mention here that because I thought it was very interesting.
What did I point out that was so interesting, sir?
I will tell you. You pointed out that season 1. Well, obviously every season's had animal companion, but what you pointed out is that season 1's animal companion was Atticus, and Atticus liked to talk. Atticus liked the sound of his own voice, and who could blame him? His voice was Ernie Hudson. Season 2, meanwhile, had good old Alan Dracula.
Who didn't talk at all.
Yes, except for that one moment where they tried to trick us into thinking he was talking, and it was very disturbing. But aside from the parasite, using him as a puppet, which is bad mojo, aside from that, Alan Dracula did not talk at all.
He was still great.
But fantastic. I loved Alan Dracula. And then Tuba does talk, but she is a gorilla of few words.
Yes.
So I thought that was an interesting thing to point out of how they've done such variety with that sort of level.
So many people in the fandom have referred to Tuba as a he. It's like, just listen to the dialogue.
Exactly.
It's not a mystery.
It's very clear.
Her gender is not a mystery. They literally say it like in her introduction.
Oh yeah. Many times.
Hazel's like, she was a mugger, and it's like, how do you, what?
Yeah.
What kind of mental backflips?
It's very strange.
Like, I could see maybe before the season was released, if just going off the trailer, but like now it's just like, doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It's not like they just like refer to, her as she once or twice. I mean, it happens like multiple times every single episode, so
Simon.
It is weird. Oh, Simon. Oh, Simon.
Oh, God. Killing Tuba. Gameplay wasn't nearly as graphic. Well, I don't even think it could show that because, like, she's not a chrome thing. Because with Mace, which that was a very graphic scene, by the way.
Yes, Mace's death was intense.
At least he didn't have, like, red blood because he was this weird mirror person thing, reflection thing. But that was still very graphic.
It reminds me of, the early seasons of Samurai Jack always had, like, Jack cutting up a bunch of enemies, but they made all the people he fought robots. Even if they didn't look like robots, as soon as he cut into them, I was like, oh, that was a robot. Okay. Just to make it okay. But it was still, like, in many senses, still quite violent. Just blood-free violence, They would still might have, like, oil spilling in ways that were very, like, bloody looking, but
like
it was
a weird chrome.
Exactly. It really reminded me of that.
What really disturbed me wasn't the shot of Mace, which is what lots of people talk about, but Lake's face.
Yes, that expression with the splatter.
Unempathetic, just annoyed.
She was done with that guy. She was just like, done.
And I can't think of a better way to go. Well, I can. Yeet! But before we go back to Tuba and your theory, Dad has a very good theory on what happened, what potential future things involving Tuba's death and whatnot. But one thing I just wanted to say specifically about the Lake Mace death scene thing was comparing it to fragments from Steven Universe. Because that was a very dark episode, but I think it just hit different. First off, because it was much more graphic. Like, Steven just, like, pulled out a shattered, like, gem, which, like,
Yeah.
in the context of the show is horrifying, but, like, not very graphic. But also just the difference in emotion. Like, Steven clearly seemed very
Was
upset.
devastated.
And Lake didn't really seem to give it much of a second thought.
Absolutely, and also,
if anything, she seemed ever so slightly shaken afterwards. That's it.
yeah, and also, like, Steven, even though, like, he went overboard with that huge attack and everything, and definitely meant to do Jasper harm, like, it was not, like, it felt like it was left to interpretation that it was just, like, an attack that he didn't know would do that much damage to her, while Lake full-on knew, hey...
I mean, she literally, as a response to him talking about, I can't think of a better way to go, she's like, I have an idea.
Yeah. And also, yeah, like you said too, like, looking at, like, a shattered gem, that's disturbing just because it counts on the audience understanding the implications of that.
Yeah.
While Mace's death is not like some cutaway and then you realize what happened. Like, it is a visceral, like, him being just torn apart.
Grinded into a wheel. Yeah.
Yes.
Back to Tuba's death. You had a theory, and I would like you to state it. I'm gonna
Yes.
grab this Pepsi over here.
By all means.
Not sponsored, obviously. Who do I think I am? But I want some Pepsi, so here we are.
Alright, so, and to be clear, we only watched the episodes one time, so if I'm confused or misunderstanding something,
Or
apologies.
misremembering something.
Yes, apologies, but in the episode that introduced Tuba, it seemed to me that she had some sort of, like, weird thing where, at least within the material of her weird jungle car, she'd almost, like, phase through or teleport through surfaces.
Like some weird shimmery substance.
Exactly. So, it's, you know, something going on with that where she can do some sort of, like, transferring through the material in the jungle. Also, I seem to recall there being a specific shot of her taking a rock or some sort of bit of material from the jungle and putting it in the knapsack. And then she specifically gave that knapsack to Hazel before they got separated. So...
And a rock was shimmery. Like
exactly.
Her weird teleporty biz.
So, to me, that seems like it could absolutely imply and leave an out for Tuba to reemerge from there at some point. And I would love...
like reflective surfaces and reflect, so they
exactly.
can come out of like any reflective surface.
Exactly. So I feel like within the context of the show, that absolutely could work. And Tuba was very lovable and sympathetic.
So I highly doubt they would just kill her off.
I would hope.
Into the season.
The things... So that's all stuff where, you know, of why I hope she would survive, and also, again, what I feel is a very realistic out for them to have her return. However, the counters to that are that, A, we saw her falling directly towards the wheel, and then it cut away, not altogether, but it just showed Simon's face staring down at her as it presumably happened. That makes things much more complicated, because presumably, like, his facial expression was like, I killed you. It was not a...
I've done it.
Yes.
Mufasa, you are Mufasa, I am Scar, you are dead now, Simba, Hazel is crying, and screw you.
Major Scar
Run
energy.
away, Hazel, run
Major.
away, never return.
And then Simon sent his hyenas after her.
I'm telling you, it all goes...
But... but... It's just, so, unfortunately, like, I feel like, if, upon landing on the wheel, Tuba did some weird teleportation thing, I assume Simon would have reacted or noticed something going on. So, that leaves a little less wiggle room than there would be if she just, like, disappeared out of sight. Like, we saw her landing directly at the wheel, and then we just saw Simon's face. Like, there's not really too much to plug into that, event-wise. The one possible thing I can think of is that just he saw her hit the wheel, and then maybe she just got swept up into the mechanisms of it, and he assumed, okay, that must have killed her, and maybe as soon as she disappeared from view, she did the teleport thing.
Yeah.
That's the one possible out. We'll see. Also, too, like, and even though, like, I do hope she survives just because...
She was so good.
Exactly. She was so lovely.
Also, they got Atticus back. That's another thing to keep in mind, is that Atticus did come back.
Weirdly enough, though, here's where my opinion, gets a bit complicated. Them doing that with Atticus, of the whole fake-out terrible fate thing, makes me worry that they might not want to repeat themselves. And I can respect that too, because you don't want to make a habit of pretending to kill a character only to have it be not, because then people will stop taking the stakes seriously. And this show seems to want people to take the stakes seriously as they've shown. So, ironically, I feel like Atticus getting a stay of execution in some ways almost maybe hurts Tuba's chances. But I don't know. Setting a precedence like that can kind of work both ways as both evidence for or against it. It's tricky.
Yeah. Also, something that people pointed out about the trailer specifically is that the way the dialogue they use in the trailer kind of, like, sort of hinted at Tuba's death, because they show a scene where Hazel is holding the bag, and her dialogue talking to, like, Grace or Simon, being like, sometimes you have to cry over losing somebody close to you, or something along those lines. I don't know if it was exactly that, but something along the lines. And then it's different.
So, and it's a lot to unpack there. And honestly, too, I really hope Tuba comes back just so that Simon can have a big "oh no" moment over it.
You know what's really messed up is, instead of just being like, "Oh, sorry, I couldn't save Tuba," or at least like making that still would obviously not justify, but at least like making up some excuse that wasn't, "Yeah, I just killed your best friend." It's just so messed up.
It's terrible.
He's just like straight up like, "Yeah, I killed her. She died."
Yeah, like Simon.
Screw you.
It's a thing where, like, Grace kind of, as of this point in the season, even though she's shown some softer edges, I still feel like at this point in the season, Grace still qualifies as a terrible person. She's manipulative. She's, very, like, quick to judge others and, like, all this stuff. And she's, like, just has done really destructive, terrible, terrible things.
Yeah.
But that said, I feel like Grace strikes me as a character who is, as of now, capable of redemption.
On the road to redemption.
Simon, unless they do some real big stuff, this really feels like the point of no return for Simon.
Yeah, and what sucks is that we even thought that maybe he was on that path, because like even earlier in that episode, you like think he's gonna shove Tuba off and not help her get up and just leave her behind, but he helps her up, and also the whole thing with the cat, which is a whole other thing.
Yep.
Somebody pointed out that his last name is French, and that the cat speaks lots of French, and also that his little radar resembles her shuttlecraft.
Weirdly enough, I did not know about the French connection. French connection. But also, I did notice when he had that weird little scanner thing that it reminded me of the tech that her thing was, but I never actually made the connection after it was real. They had a connection about like, oh, yes, that
really
something makes even more sense.
She has a stuffed cockroach in her. That's horrible. Or a cockroach dog thing.
She likes collecting
Somebody
everything.
wanted a plush of that. I saw a post that this person was like, I found the cockroach is really cute and I want a plush of that. No disrespect to that person, but those things are not cute. They are nightmarish.
It's funny because there's so many things in the show that would make great plushies.
Yeah, like a little 1-1 plush sounds great. Atticus plush, great.
A big tuba one?
Yeah.
Adorable.
Little Alan Dracula?
100% yes. I'd even take a weird little Randall one.
Yeah.
But,
the toad?
By God, the toad.
The cat? There's like so many things that would make so much better plushes than those things.
That is, I mean, hey, everybody has different measures of cuteness, I guess.
Yeah.
As this very much proves.
I feel like Grace is definitely on the road to redemption. Also, I'm just gonna correct sectors because I don't think we mentioned this. We did not like Simon or Grace in season 2 when they showed up.
Yes,
we hated them. We were like, no,
100%. Like,
these people suck.
found them intolerable.
It was like Umbridge from Harry Potter.
Yes.
It's like
terrible.
Technically well written on like a purely technical level, but also I hate them and they suck. So we were a little nervous.
We were.
I like Grace a lot more this season.
And even though even Grace, I think I still like less than you do at this point. But even I will still say though that like even within the context of me finding Grace and Simon unlikable, this season has been great. And the fact that two of the main characters, Simon especially, are sort of like these wild cards who you don't really trust, has actually made it so there's like a huge amount of like tension and interesting like psychological mind games going on, and like wondering what is going to happen. Like it really and that's the thing too, like just having like these characters who also don't engage with the train's wacky gimmicks in like the inquisitive, open-minded way of the earlier protagonists, like really is like just such a different approach altogether. So like, yeah, as much as I hated them, you and I both talked about this, about how we hated them in season 2, but we had enough faith in the makers of the show that we knew they would pull it off somehow, and by God,
yeah. Also, it was a similar thing with Lake, where personally, me and Dad both seemed to like. We liked Lake in season 1, but I know lots of people didn't when it was just season 1 that was out there. Like, ew, she's annoying and kind of mean. But then their minds were changed by the end of book 2. So it's just a thing where
they're good.
They're good at that. Grace, I like Grace a lot more this season. Simon, I have a bone to pick with that fella after what he just did. But yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say what my general prediction for how things are going to unfold is.
Okay, before you do that,
by all means,
I have a few small things to say. Simon
Absolutely.
sucks.
Oh, yes.
I don't like him. He's mean, and I'm deeply, deeply upset. The other thing I want to say is I am very curious to see their reactions to Hazel turning into a turtle, because A, got hints that she's not a real passenger, and we all know how they feel about that. Also, the only reaction shot we really got was with Grace at the end, with being like, gasp, because that's a horrifying sight.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely curious to see how it plays out. Anyways, you have, and Dad has not told me this, so we're in for a ride. He just told me earlier that he has
I have some predictions.
A very clear predictive outline for how season 3 might go.
Yes, and again, obviously, this is all just guessing, and also may be clear that it's very likely I will be wrong, and I hope I am wrong, because this show's very good at being unpredictable. Incredibly good at it.
I did not expect Atticus to die.
Especially turning into one of those roaches.
Yeah.
So, again, this all is very subject to being incredibly wrong and fantastic. I welcome any surprises, and if it's all wrong, hey, the more surprises the better.
I did not expect Lake to do so many bad things, especially towards the end.
But my guess for what's going to happen is, with Hazel, as you say, now basically being confirmed to not be just a normal human, to say the very least, they'll, of course, come to the only logical conclusion, which is that she must be a denizen, or as they would say, a null.
Which is a very...
Yes.
I hate it. They're less than 0. They're not even 0. They're nothing.
Terrible. So...
It's horrible.
I feel like that is going to lead to, a very decisive separation between Simon and Grace, because I think that at that point, Simon, who is already in sort of the fact that he didn't even, he was so, fanatical that he didn't even bother hiding that he killed Tuba, that he was actually outright bragging about it to Tuba's adopted daughter.
I would have at least, first off, I would never do this, but if I were in a situation, I would have been, at least be sorry, kid, I wasn't able to save her.
That's what I was expecting, honestly.
It's tragic. I was not expecting him to straight up be I killed her. I threw her into a wheel, lake style.
So, I mean, that just shows how bloodthirsty and far gone he is, that he again, like, he did not even bother trying to hide it. Like, he was thrilled to share it as soon as he could. So I feel like that shows that just, like, in his eyes, like, Nulls, he's just, like, the only good Null is a dead Null in his eyes,
Grace,
basically.
at least, was like, seriously?
Yes, like,
what?
Grace was alarmed by that. And, again, as we've said, like, Grace has seemed, at least on the general like, trending towards some sort of redemption.
Yeah.
And I feel like this will be the crisis point that breaks them off, because I think that upon finding out that Hazel is a Null, Simon's probably going to want to, throw her right where he threw Tuba, while Grace, I think, has grown attached enough to Hazel that she is going to try to prevent that.
because her numbers started going down. Like,
Yeah.
by a lot, as well as it seemed, because, like, at the beginning of the season, it was, like, all the way, like, near her shoulder, and now it's, like, below, like, her elbow.
And I'm glad you brought up the number, because I wanted to mention something else that I thought of earlier on the point of Simon before I move on. Simon's number was going haywire after he killed Tuba. Now, the two, and you tell me if you have a different theory, but my two theories for that is if Tuba is dead, then I think that's the train's system almost scrambling to make sense of how horrible of an act that is. Like, it's like, what? Like, it's
You
like,
just do.
Yeah, so it's just like going up so quickly that it's like scrambling sort of thing. Or, and this is the more hopeful note, maybe it's scrambled like that because even it doesn't know exactly how bad of a deed he did was, because maybe it doesn't even know if Tuba is alive or dead, if she's in that weird phasing teleportation zone. Those are the two theories I have for what that means. Did you have any other ones? Or?
What I don't want to be the case is that it went down. My main reason for that is because his number seemed slightly lower, although that could just be a weird animation thing. And it took me a second to be like, I'm sorry, what? He just murdered somebody. But yeah, he was like, you want to see how high our numbers got? And Grace is like, no. No, I don't. Also, your number got. I didn't do this. So yeah, those are good theories, good sir.
Thank you. And so yes, so I feel like that's, probably going to lead to a decisive divide between the two of them that is just going to escalate and will certainly be more than conflict enough to drive the remaining episodes, never even minding the fact of Amelia. And I can see my guess that Amelia is more likely going to encounter Grace, and again, probably separate from Simon, because I think they're probably going to go separate ways.
Okay,
that's my assumption.
I don't care how close they've gotten. I don't care how long they've known each other. You don't kill a child's basically adopted mother.
Yes.
You don't do that. You just don't.
It's not done. So I think it's a situation where Grace will probably be the one, and with Hazel in tow, to encounter Amelia. And again, best case scenario, Amelia will want to make up for things, try to, stop this weird cult that she indirectly inspired, and also maybe become a parental figure to Hazel, which, by God, if she made Hazel, that's, take responsibility.
The bare minimum.
Yes.
Like, if you create something, bare minimum, like, take care of it to some level.
So, I feel like, and that could obviously be a good redemption arc for Amelia, as well as also giving a hopeful, happy, path for Amelia going forward of, like, learn to reconnect with other people and everything. So, that could all go. Also, Simon, though, will be probably, like, maybe trying to hunt them down or catch up with them or something. It might even be a big race between the two of them to be the first ones to get back to the rest of the Apex and sort of, like, take control, either to dial down the situation or to militarize them into absolute monsters if Simon reaches them first. So it could be that kind of situation. And it also, if they do re-encounter each other with Amelia in the fray, I could also see Simon refusing to accept that Amelia is the person and refusing to accept the truth, while the truth I think Grace will accept, even if it's painful, and that will further calm her down, make her reanalyze the way she was looking at the world, and all sorts of stuff.
Who named Hazel? Sorry to cut you off.
That's a fair point.
Who named Hazel? Because Tuba, based off of what we've learned, named all her kids
That's
after
a good point.
like instruments. Like
Yes.
they said she had a daughter named Bugle, and she said she had children at one point. So presumably, like trumpet. Here's trumpet. Here's trombone. Here's tambourine. Why did I go only to T instruments? I'm not sure. But also, Hazel doesn't really seem to know much about her background, so I find it weird that she would just arbitrarily know that her name is Hazel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did she name herself? Did like
That is a good point.
Amelia just code that name into her so she just knows, or did like Tuba arbitrarily come up with the name Hazel? It's weird.
That is a fair point. I hadn't thought of that, but yes.
Anyways, you can continue with your thing. I was just confuzzled.
Another even more chilling possibility for Simon's reaction to hearing the truth from Amelia about everything is that he does believe her, but in his fanaticism wants to get rid of her because she contradicts what he wants to cling to and the image he wants to, lead the Apex with and that kind of stuff.
I hate that.
Thing is, I'm gonna drop a reference to classic Russian literature real quick.
What?
It's relevant.
I'm sorry,
it's
what?
relevant.
Is it?
It is
It
actually.
doesn't seem very relevant.
I will say it, and then you can tell me. So, there is this great Russian novel called The Brothers Karamazov, and in it, one of the characters is a novelist themselves and writes a short story. And there's actually a short story within this novel that was written by one of the characters in the novel. And the short story is so good.
That is the most meta thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And the short story is so good that it actually has been published on its own as its own standalone story.
Okay.
And it is called The Grand Inquisitor, and it takes place during the Spanish Inquisition, where the Catholic Church was rounding up and killing everybody who wasn't Catholic enough. And
that isn't just religion in a nutshell.
Yeah. And
not to bash the Catholics. I'm digging myself in a hole here. Forget I said anything. Continue.
Well, we can edit it out. It's fine.
It's fine.
But yeah, so Spanish Inquisition and everything, and into this time period within the short story, this is the time period that Jesus returns. He finally makes his return to Earth, and it's during the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, God.
And the Inquisition captures and imprisons him and sentences Jesus to death. And and the bulk of the story is the Grand Inquisitor in charge of the Inquisition just sitting down with Jesus on death row and explaining to Jesus how the church doesn't need him anymore, and now it's better off without him.
That's not...
It's a very huge, profound, powerful concept for a story. Isn't it? I mean, it's got some kick to it. It's a fantastic story.
Jesus.
Highly recommended.
Pun intended.
Eh? So, and that is why this situation actually does remind me of that, because Apex really is a weird cult sort of thing.
Apex Legends.
Hey, there you go. And it's a situation where Amelia is almost can only hurt the weird cult sort of thing because she stands for how wrong they are about everything. So I could almost see it being a situation where Simon reaches the same decision that...
Because A, she's not the quote-unquote real conductor, that was always 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
B, she was not there for any good reason. She's not this heroic figure. She was actually a very bad person. And C, they clearly don't even know enough of her to know that she's a girl, so clearly their perspective of the conductor is very skewed.
Exactly, and again, so Simon in his fanaticism might just realize that she is an impediment to the very cult that formed up around her, and that could be a very powerful element to bring in, and also, too, all this just spiraling so far out of control could make Amelia realize that even beyond what she knew she was doing and all the harm she knew she was causing, there was all this stuff, just terrible, terrible stuff that was happening that wasn't even on her radar, just going on as a result of her actions.
Another thing I want to bring up is the weird stuff that keeps happening on the train. They keep blaming 1-1, and I don't know if it is 1-1 or
That's
what's
a good point.
been going on, because the train cars keep moving around and stuff, and each time they're always like, God dang it, 1-1, and I'm thinking... maybe it is 1-1 because he has control over the entire... I mean, he made Tulip's exit just reappear and all of this stuff. So I'm like, maybe it is 1-1 trying to like throw them off course because what they're doing is bad. I don't know. Maybe it's just a glitch in the system. Maybe it's the cat, because we know that the cat had a way to move cards. I legitimately don't know.
That is a good point, because there's definitely something, like, they've pointed it out, like, what a striking thing this is to be happening over and over again to them. So, and yeah, like, it's only been the Apex's speculation that it was 1-1's fault, and Apex being wrong about everything about how the train runs is kind of their thing. So
there was going back to book 1, I watched a video from the official Cartoon Network, because like oftentimes after like big reveals or something, the Cartoon Network channel on YouTube will make like a video posting all like the hints and stuff. They did it with the whole Pink Diamond Rose reveal. They did it with like all the weird hints in a mini 1-1 series got hinted at. And they also did one hinting at 1-1 being a real conductor. And one that really messed with me, because the other ones were like pretty straightforward foreshadowing, but the one that really messed with me was when they were in that weird music car, he was jumping around and he says, "I've been helping since the very beginning." And I'm like, oh god, I hate that. Oh no. Oh no.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, he has been. He has been Hotel. He has been.
This show is so good at foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So good.
Cartoon Network in general has very good foreshadowing its shows.
They are, and I feel like, with that even being a strength of
and very
the shows.
Good plot twists. Like, even miniseries, like Over the Garden Wall, like, the ant not being... That weird plot twist with, like, the ant not being real in that one episode, and it was, like, this girl. That was horrifying!
Yep, and even though, like, it's a weird thing where it doesn't, like, actually, like, necessarily change things all that much, I really love the reveal in Over the Garden Wall that the kids were just from, like, the 80s or the 90s or something.
Yeah.
As opposed, like, they just seem so much old-timey from the way they're dressed.
Clarence, no less. Because if you guys are confused, somebody did compare the city in Clarence to the one in Over the Garden Wall, and they are the same place.
It's true.
Just, like, set in different times.
So, I mean, with that being a strength of a lot of Cartoon Network shows in general, Infinity Train is even at a better advantage because, like, each season being so, like, hyper-focused and, like, well-organized really lets them just,
Of
do
course,
lots
it's no longer
clever
really.
setups.
It's no longer really Cartoon Network.
That is true.
Anymore.
It's now an HBO Max original.
Same with the new Adventure Time, which we watched earlier. Not gonna get into Adventure Time because that's not what this is about. But it was very good.
Exactly. If you do happen to get HBO Max or are wanting to, or like looking for more things to justify getting it besides Infinity Train,
and
it's very good.
All the other amazing things it has. This is not.
I like HBO Max though. I tried it out just mostly for Infinity Train and Steven Universe and stuff like that, but it's really good.
Hulu, I'm a little salty at Hulu because for pretty much every other Cartoon Network show that they have on there, they have like a full series, like Amazing World of Gumball, Clarence, Over the Garden Wall. I mean, Over the Garden Wall is literally a season. Adventure Time. For all these things, they have like a full series, but with Steven Universe, they have the first 4 seasons, and they never
it's cruel.
put up the 5th one, which is very mean. Which means me and Dad have not actually seen it in its entirety.
Gotta catch up on that. But yeah, I'm trying to think. So I mean, I think I mentioned most of the things. Just also specifically, if they are going to have Tuba come back, I could see it being a big climactic moment during the final confrontation with Simon, who I presume Simon is going to be the primary antagonist through the end of this season.
What's very interesting about the trailer is that it's most of what's in the trailer is what we saw in the 5 episodes. There's only like 1 or 2 little tiny moments I noticed, like a snake attacking Hazel, I think.
I remember that actually, yes.
And I don't remember that happening in the first 5 episodes. So I have a feeling like whatever is next for this series, I don't know if it's 5 more episodes or whatever, I think it's going to be very climactic because they tend to do that. I went back, I never watched the season 1 trailer, but I did watch the book 2 trailer, and I was like, this is like basically just like the first half of the series or season is what is in the trailer, and like barely anything because it's like you would spoil it.
Exactly.
Like you can't show any of the big moments like Jesse's exit and leaving Lake behind, the full ending exit thing, Mace, Steve, Gyarados. You can't show that.
You can't?
Because that would be a huge spoiler, even though those were like the best parts of the season.
This show is so good, and it is so good at bringing the thunder as it closes into the climax.
Yeah. So I have a feeling like things are about to get very intense because they didn't show
very much so
anything.
And again, all my guesses are just what I feel, from my own perspective, seem like intuitive paths for things to take. Again, though, fully prepared for it to zig in all the ways where I'm expected to zag. Because, again, show's very good at being unpredictable. And even just the setting itself and all its crazy shenanigans lends itself so well to wild cards being thrown into any situation.
Yeah. I want to see what other cars, because lots of people that's not like why I watch the show. I don't really care about cars, but I am curious to see what new cars show up.
Exactly.
I also like the little one-off cars that like we barely see, like the straight-up Italy car.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. Tulip is like, Nancy, you've gotten so much better at pasta making, and they leave, and then close the door, and she writes straight-up Italy car. That was hilarious, and I want to see more little cars and stuff, because that's always a fun thing.
Exactly.
And I mean, even though it's not really the focus of the show, even though it is called Infinity Train, I don't think the train itself is really the main focus of the show. It's the characters and all what. I do like some of the cars, like the grid car was cool. It's just all these cars were so cool.
And I just love how endlessly imaginative they are with the cars. Like,
well,
there have been so many.
They have to be endlessly imaginative because it is an Infinity Train.
But that's the thing. They've been living up to it. Like, there have been so many cars by this point, and they keep on doing such a good job of keeping them fresh and fun and surprising. It's wonderful.
If I were to describe the show to somebody who's not seen it personally, you have a slightly different one, but mine would be sci-fi over the garden wall mixed a little bit with Adventure Time. And yours was...
Go with that sort of thing. I would say it's Over the Garden Wall combined with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I feel like...
And my mom said it was kind of Over the Garden Wall, which I think we're noticing a theme here. Yes. We all think it's fairly like just a sci-fi Over the Garden Wall mixed with Stranger Things. So like if you like Adventure Time, if you liked Stranger Things, if you like Doctor Who, and especially if you liked Over the Garden Wall,
absolutely
watch it. Anyways, that is about all we have to say.
Yes, indeed.
Hazel is a failed Amelia experiment. Tuba better come back, or I'm gonna jump through the screen and hurt Simon very aggressively. Yes. So that was our theories. This is actually longer than either of our Steven Universe
Which
videos.
is a testament to something.
Yeah, which says a lot, because with the Steven Universe ones we had... Well, for us, we had 4 seasons, a movie, and like half
there was,
and like a majority of.
It seemed like there was more ground to cover, but I mean.
But this ended up being longer than both of those.
It's a dense show.
It's a very deep show.
There's a lot to
and we mainly just talked about season 3, which isn't even fully out yet, which says a whole lot more. Because, I mean, we of course touched on the previous 2 seasons, which is why I put a spoiler warning at the beginning, because I knew it would happen.
Could not be avoided.
But this is such a long, it's so long.
We had a lot to say.
I want Tuba to come back, god dang it!
I agree, and I hope that all of you can understand that part of why this has gone longer than expected is because, well, just, let's be honest. If you go an entire podcast talking about a cartoon and don't bring up classic Russian literature at least a bit, you're not doing your job.
Don't go off on a million side tangents that don't relate to the main point. It's not a real podcast.
Exactly.
So, just to wrap this up, first off, we want to make an actual podcast.
Yes, we still just need a good name for it.
Yeah, if you guys have made it this far, which I highly doubt, because
we're super entertaining and engaging. Everybody got this far.
This is almost an hour-long video, but if you managed to get this far, and you have an idea for a name for our potential video game-themed podcast, feel free to comment it below.
Absolutely.
Also, I hope you didn't skip any ads that were placed on this video because I'm poor and I need your money.
Need that coin!
I'm gonna make them unskippable ads.
Talk about irredeemable.
I'm making unskippable ads.
The true monster.
I usually have it both unskippable and skippable. I'm just making them unskippable.
As he says, he has the exact same facial expression that Simon had when he killed Tuba. Lightning striking menacingly in the distance.
If we do make a podcast, which we probably will, it'll probably be SoundCloud as well, because iTunes, Spotify, that's expensive. But SoundCloud is free.
We might branch out into those things if we
make
reach
any
a good groove
form
with it.
of money from it. But it will be probably on SoundCloud as well as on this channel. And then if it gains any sort of traction, we'll probably move it to its own separate channel.
We'll see how it all goes.
Also, I'm going to link my dad's channels and social medias, his YouTube channel that he wants to use but never does.
Now that I actually have a good way to record stuff, though, I'm going to try to get back on that.
Yes, and as well as his Instagram, if you want to see his absolutely legendary art. I'm very insulted.
Shucks.
I'm very insulted that he can draw all my characters 10 times better than me. It's very rude. You are a rude man, sir.
Your characters are awesome to draw.
You disgust me. But yes, I will link those in the description.
And
if you want to support this man!
Thank you.
Also, before we recorded this, we had a testing audio thing, which I might plug in now.
Testing the audio quality.
Testing the audio quality.
Testing.
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 The audio quality.
And if I don't, I do plan on making a funny little animation for it.
I'm glad.
Because it was pretty magical. I don't think when we thought we were just testing the audio quality to see how good it would be.
It took on a life of its own.
It got.
It was comedy gold.
First episode of podcast will likely be around androids, more specifically Detroit Become Human and
Near Automata.
Yes, and we'll branch off into other things about androids and stuff, which is how we actually came up with the idea.
Exactly.
Was because we were like, we want to talk about androids, and we were like, we should make a podcast about androids, and Dad was like, well, you can't make an entire podcast about androids. That literally won't work, but we can.
I mean, maybe if we were scientists, we could, but.
But we're not scientists. I don't see a PhD anywhere in this room.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm looking. I'm not seeing it.
We'll look more carefully later, but I think you might be right.
But yes, we do plan on making a podcast.
Yeah, but hey, and regardless of when the first episode of that happens, the next episode of just this little speculation thing that we're doing,
the playlist on this channel, on my channel, is called Discussions with Dad.
I think it is a wonderful name.
So,
with alliteration.
For next episode, quote unquote, of Discussions with Dad will probably be about our afterthoughts of the next 5 or so, or however many episodes.
However many episodes you have, just looking back, saying our thoughts, and just seeing how, how much we got right or wrong, or how it surprised us.
Or if Dad just wasted 30 minutes talking about this big theory about how the series will turn out just for it to be completely wrong.
If it turns out that I was...
You absolute buffoon!
I was a Galumba! I did the heroic thing and documented my own failures. Which will now be immortal on the internet.
The internet, you can't delete anything off the internet.
Exactly.
You can try, but you can't.
Yep, so me being wrong will be immortal.
Good job. You buffoon, you fool, you Galumba.
Galumba's a good word.
Farewell.
Farewell, and try to integrate the word Galumba into your conversations more often. That's my parting words of advice.
It's a Brian David Gilbert reference.
But it's also just a good word. All right. Farewell.
Farewell.